weather while living in the tree. My platform was 4x6, and my roof and walls were made from plastic tarps. That was the extent of my protection. I got such severe frostbite that I lost almost six of my toes and 5 of my fingers. My skin turned black and peeled off for 3 months. It just kept dying and falling off. And I had to laugh because it was so intense, you know? So like, part of my tool in my toolkit is I laugh, in case you can't tell. I like cry and I laugh. Those are my 2 tools, and 2 of my big tools in my toolbox. If I'm sad, I cry. If it's intense, I laugh. So yeah, I suffered very severe frostbite. You know, in this weather right now, it's cold out there. But we could go out there and get cold and wet and then come in here and dry off and get warm. I didn't have a spot to go and dry off and get warm. I was wet and cold all day, every day for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And so it just settled into my skin and literally started to kill my skin. The only thing I had for warmth was my sleeping bag. One of the things I would do is whenever I'd make a meal, I'd always make meals in one pot. I would start the meal until the water was boiling. I would turn it off, wrap a towel around it, and stick it in my sleeping bag, and then put myself around it. So that it helped heat me up inside my sleeping bag, and the insulation of the sleeping bag actually helped finish it cooking, which saved fuel. You know, in the tree, I didn't go up in the tree realizing how every single choice we make has an impact. Every single one. We go to the stove and we turn it on, and we don't think at all about where did that come from, where is it going. When you live in a tree and someone has to hike up your fuel and pack out the tank, you start realizing, actually as a global family, we are hiking up the fuel and packing out the tanks. There's a very real impact we don't think about. In the tree, I was made to think about it. So not only was I able to save fuel doing it that way, I was actually able to try and get warmth into my frostbitten toes and fingers.
Could you talk about, I think it's Jedediah Smith who protected the redwoods by Arcata? Or maybe I have the name wrong, but there's the northern...
Well, there's multiple forests that have been protected by multiple people. So if you're interested in that, there's many stories of people that have protected the redwoods. You know, as a woman, I'm particularly excited about Save the Redwoods League because it was started by women. And it was a bunch of women who were like, we shouldn't be cutting down all these trees. And they were like total proper women. Like, back in the day, like proper type women. We shouldn't be cutting down these redwoods. No, don't cut them down. And then even like tree hugging comes from India as a woman's movement of literally hugging trees, women going up to trees and hugging them to keep them from being cut down. That's the lineage I'm a part of, is a very long and beautiful tradition of women saying, don't think this is the right idea. We might want to do something different. So there's many parks protected in California and around the world. And they always have great stories attached to them because it's someone who saw the importance of place and did something to protect that place. And that's something we all get to benefit from. Unfortunately, in the United States, much of our parks that have been protected with tax dollars are now being subsidized to be logged and mined, etc. So this thing we've already spent our tax dollars protecting is now being threatened and using our tax dollars to threaten them and destroy them. Under the Clinton administration, everybody likes to be like, oh, Clinton was so amazing. Like, that's great and everything, but I was in the tree and I was in Arkansas during Clinton years, and I know a lot about what happens behind the scenes. And in Clinton, under Clinton's administration, we spent $1.2 billion tax dollars a year subsidizing logging on our national forests. You think what good we could do with $1.2 billion? I'm pretty sure we could do something better than log our forests. 1.2 billion tax dollars. That's your hard-earned money and your parents and your families' hard-earned money. 1.2 billion we spent logging our national forests under a progressive administration. So although parks are important, we have to recognize again that it's all about vigilance. How much do we care about a place and each other, and how much are we paying attention, and how much are we involved in making sure that we protect what's really important to us. How are we on time? I can't see the clock.
10 more minutes.
10 more minutes? Okay, great, thank you. I keep trying to peek and I can't tell, and I'll be like, yes.
Yeah, do you have any advice for weighing out the potential positive impact an action can have, and then the cost it takes to get there? For example, using fuel and traveling to get to an action.
Yes.
Any advice for that decision-making process?
Right, so how do we weigh and measure negative impact with positive impact? How, you know, like unfortunately, I've never come to peace with it. Like, I've been touring for a long time, and I'm clear that I cause a very real and negative impact on the planet to be here with you today. I have done everything I can over the years to offset that negative impact. I invest portions of everything that I earn into wind power projects on native land so that the money goes back not only to the land but to the original peoples of the place, because so much of our solutions channel yet more resources away from the people who it was stolen from and more into the hands of people who took it. So I try and look for not only solutions that help the environment but help the people as well. So I do things like that. I invest in food forests, which help store carbon as well as create food for communities. I do things like that, but I'm still clear, yes, I'm having a negative impact. So unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball that says, well, if I do this, then X, Y, Z, and if I do that, X, Y, Z. The important thing is to just get that we're having an impact and to ask ourselves, well, how can I most lessen the harm that I cause and do the most good? And there's no perfect answer. I actually wish there was, because clearly I'm the kind of person who will go the limit for what I believe, and then a little bit farther. So if there was a perfect answer, I'd be happy to go to any stretch to get there. And people are like, well, why don't you just go live off the land and just get involved in a community somewhere and shut up and quit traveling? You're causing more harm. And I'm like, I've actually sat with that. In many ways, it'd be easier for me. Traveling is really, really hard on my body. It's very difficult on me. And yet I'm like, well, being the person I am that has gotten the attention that I have, if I were to just go and live on a space and do nothing, would that doing nothing actually cause more harm than the harm I caused getting on a plane to come here, right? So there's no crystal ball to say which one is true. But for me, the important thing is to be in that inquiry, to look for the best solutions, to try it out, be willing to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not growing, okay? People get freaked out by mistakes, and it's hard because like even in this setting, like university setting, mistake means, minus off your grade. So I get that it's intense. In the work that I do, especially because if we're trying to create a new world, it's not going to be created through the same old things that have been created problems. That means I have to be creative, and in being creative, I might actually make some mistakes. So for me, the answer to the question also involves being willing to make mistakes and then be curious about them. Well, what happened? Why did that mistake happen? What is there to learn from it? How can I grow and apply it? And in that way, it doesn't become so much of a mistake. So there are some times where I'm like, wow, maybe that didn't have the impact that I really wanted it to do and to have. And then I just kind of go back and be like, okay, why? What were the missing pieces that I could have put into place that would have potentially had a different outcome? That kind of thing. I wish I had a better answer than that, but that's what I got. Thank you. Yes, I forgot to go to you earlier. I apologize.
Well, I grew up in an era, and I was in college in the era in the late 60s and early 70s, so there was a lot of social unrest at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being at UW-Mass and then being in an environment like that, that helped me be around activism.
Mm-hmm.
But what about some of these students sitting in here now, and if you're not around it and you weren't raised in it, how do they help get the fire in their belly without that norm around them that challenged everything, and whether it was Vietnam, women's rights, whether it was civil rights, whatever. How do you help? Because I'm concerned about these people sitting here and helping them make the world a better place.
Right. So how do we deal with the fact that at certain times in our collective history we've had more actions going on than what we have now? The reality is I can't tell you you should care and have you care. I can't do that. I can tell you should care, and that's not going to ignite your care. You're the one who's in that driver's seat. You're the one who gets to choose what you choose to care about and what you choose to do in honor of that care. So what I do with my life is try and model by example and to show what's possible. That's why I come and do these events. We have all, at certain times in our life, been told we should fill in the blank, and it is not inspiring. When people come to me and tell me, you know what you should be doing, Julia? I'm like, no, that's what clearly you should be doing. Because clearly you're passionate about that, so you go do that. That's clearly your calling. That's not my calling. So I do these events and I'm just me, and I mean in some ways like I don't want to do that professional speech making route because I don't think that taps into